Karen Property Storytime. Neighbor's daughter is taking advantage of my kindness, and now I want to move, with an update from what OP said they're going to do next. I, a 34-year-old female, have been in my apartment for about a decade now, and although there aren't any fancy amenities or updates done to the units, other than a random superficial decoration every few years, I'm super happy in my space. Plus, it's a 2-bed, 1.5 bath for under $900 a month in a good neighborhood, which is unreal. Through the years, neighbors have come and gone, but I haven't had any bad interactions with any of them. My neighbor to the left of me moved in a few years after I did, and we've always been cordial. He's an older man and shares the unit with his teenage daughter, who's 19, her 1-year-old, and her live-in boyfriend, who's probably like 20 or something. Everything's been indifferently friendly between us, until last year. December 2022. I hear heavy pounding on my front door. I open it, and it's my neighbor's daughter having a full-blown hyperventilating panic attack. Basically, the entire day is spent not only seeing her through her crisis, including taking her to the hospital and watching her baby and the boyfriend, but also mediating and talking her through the subsequent fight that her and the boyfriend got into later that day. After that, they're a little more friendly, saying hi whenever they see me, offering to take my trash to the dumpster for me, not anything over the top, but just more interested. Starting in October of this year, the daughter starts asking small things of me, asking if I have a charger block that she can borrow, if I could help her carry something to the dumpster. Very small things. One day, she knocks on the door and says the power in their apartment is out, and she wants to ask if I can heat up a bottle for her baby and make herself some ramen. Well, I didn't really mind at the time, so, I let her in. She did what she needed to do, and then left. The next day, she asked to plug her phone in to let it charge. Again, I oblige. She does her thing and then just leaves. A few days later, she knocks on the door and asks for a ride to the store. I say, yeah, sure, since I was leaving the house anyway, but as we're on the way, she adds in an extra detail that she wants to go to a specific location, not just the closest one. We're already out, so I say, yeah, sure, and how lucky for her that she meets up with someone at that specific location that has something for her baby. It's pretty suspicious, but I let it slide. On the way back to the apartment, she's telling me how she's trying to better herself for the baby and that her dad will buy cars and take his girlfriends out on dates, but not pay the utilities, not take her or her baby to appointments, and generally just doesn't support her at all. She tells me how much she doesn't like asking for help, and it's hard for her to reach out to people. It hits close to home because, same honestly, so I give her my number and tell her that if she needs something and absolutely can't find anyone else, and I'm not busy, I try to help out the best way that I could. Since then, she's asked for money to cut the lights back on one occasion, $30 that she claimed she'd pay back with interest, but never did. On another occasion, $20 that I didn't give her. A ride to the gas station where she paid over twice that amount for vapes for herself and her boyfriend, a ride to pick up her boyfriend at 10 o'clock at night, a ride to take her boyfriend to work, non-slip shoes for a job that she just got, money for the shoes when I said I didn't have those kinds of shoes. Food for the baby, and some other small things here and there. She does have an extended support system. Her mom is in the picture, as is her sister and brother. I know because I've seen them and she's talked about them. But she seems to be skipping over those people to come directly to me for things. I'm now regretting helping her at all, but I feel stuck since I did extend my assistance, albeit with qualifiers. And because I'm too chicken crap to tell her to stop asking me for stuff, I'm searching for a new place to live, knowing that I'll never find the deal on rent that I'm currently getting. I could be overreacting, I'm fully aware. This could very well be a get off of my lawn situation, but dang it, I'm tired of playing mom to basically two grown butt people with a freaking baby. Is there a gentle way of telling her to leave me alone, or should I continue the apartment hunt and get the heck out of here? The update. You guys were tough and fair, and most importantly, 100% right. I'm not going to let a child push me out of my home. Since posting this and reading your suggestions, I've been texted and called by her several times. I let the calls go to voicemail and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. She asked me for money, and I told her that I didn't have it. No extra explanation. She's now texting me asking to use my phone to call her child's doctor at 5 o'clock p.m. Yeah, okay. I'll be in meetings for the rest of the night. I think I didn't want to flat out tell her no, because the bleeding heart that I am don't want to be just another person who's let her down. But you guys are spot on. She is not my responsibility. If I keep letting her use me, I'll end up adopting her, the baby daddy, and the baby. Yeah, there's a difference between helping somebody and then they see that and then continually take advantage of you, because once that cycle starts, you gotta nip it in the bud and make it stop. Ideally sooner than later. You ever been in this one? Let me know. Lawyer makes post-car accident worse for his client. Posted by Desert Dweller. I used to work in the claims department for one of the top auto insurance companies in America. I get a phone call from a lawyer looking to file a new accident claim for his client. His client is also my customer. I explained that I can take the initial report from the lawyer, but will be contacting the client to get his side of the story. The lawyer immediately tells me that I am not to contact the client because he is being represented by a lawyer. I explain that until I have an official letter of representation on file, I have every right to contact the client. So anyway, I proceed to gather all the details from the lawyer. Once I finish filing the claim, I generate a claim number and give it to the lawyer. The lawyer was stalling me a little bit, and I soon realized why. He was using the time to get an official letter of representation on file so I couldn't contact his client, also my customer, which he did, and now I'm not able to speak with the client unless given permission by the lawyer. The lawyer was a total pompous butt and was definitely trying to throw his weight around just to show that he was important. He definitely thought that he was putting me in my place. He proceeds to tell me that the client has minor injuries such as back and neck pain and is going to see a doctor. I explained that the client may see whatever doctor he wishes, but that it's best to have us get in contact with his doctor of choice as soon as possible so we can start using the coverage to pay for any medical bills. The lawyer gets all huffy-puffy with me and tells me that the client will go see a doctor and get all the medical help that he needs, and once it's all done and over with, he will send us a bill that we will be required to pay in full. I explain that it doesn't work that way. Some doctors require certain payments from insurance companies up front, or at least be in contact with the insurance company to confirm that certain payments will be paid. I also explained that the client only had a certain amount of coverage that he pays for. We are not required as an insurance company to pay more than what the client has on his policy. So, for example, if the client has $10,000 in coverage, we would only pay half of a $20,000 medical bill. I also explained that if the doctor hasn't been in contact with an insurance company, they may charge the client and the client will have to go through a different, longer process for us to reimburse him than if we just paid the doctor up front. Now, I know that all this sounds like a bunch of corporate BS, and it is, but I don't make the rules. I'm really trying my hardest to make this as easy as possible for the client, but the lawyer just isn't having it at all. The lawyer demands that the client will go to whatever doctor he wants and will receive whatever treatment he wants, and that we will pay for it in full, and the client will pay nothing out of pocket regardless of the cost of treatment. I went back and forth with the lawyer, but eventually you gotta understand that you're just going in circles and it's time to just take the loss. So I do, and we move on to the vehicle. Lawyer says it's damaged, but the client drove the car from the accident scene straight to the lawyer's office. The windshield was damaged and there were fluids leaking from the car. I recommended that we tow the vehicle to a repair shop, and I explained the customer had towing coverage and we can get a tow truck free of charge. The lawyer refuses and says the client can drive the car. The lawyer also demands that the client uses a repair shop of his choice. I explained to the lawyer that the client is absolutely allowed to use a shop of his choice, but that we have to send an adjuster out to the car to inspect the damage and give a quote to the repair shop. The reason we did this is a lot of times body shops will take advantage of insurance companies because they know we will pay and the shops fix things that don't need to be fixed and purposely buy more expensive parts to hike up the price. It's pretty much insurance fraud. So we usually send an expert of our own out to assess the damage and write up a fair and legit repair estimate. The lawyer refuses and says that he isn't telling us the shop that the car is going to, and once again, we will get a bill once all the work is done, and we will be required to pay the full bill regardless of the price. I explained that we do not cover the cost of aftermarket parts, only factory parts. It's listed in our contract. The customer agreed to this when he signed up, and once again, corporate BS, I know. But I don't make the rules, and I'm really trying to help the customer out here so he doesn't have a bunch of unnecessary crap to deal with. I argued with this lawyer for a long time about how things work and why the way that he was trying to handle this was going to end up costing the client money. The lawyer was on a path of destruction and was making every possible scenario worse for the client. The lawyer wasn't having any of it, and of course threatened to sue and all that crap. I finally gave in and let the lawyer do whatever he wanted. I knew the worst case scenario would come of this, and I figured I'd let the lawyer and the client feel the consequences of their stupid decisions and the lawyer trying to assert his dominance. I let him and his client do what they thought was best. I mean, why listen to the professional, right? What ends up happening is the customer takes the car to some sketchy shop. They do exactly what we feared and jack the price way up. They put expensive aftermarket replacement parts on the car, which we don't cover. The customer had to pay out of pocket for a bunch of stuff to the repair shop, and the repair shop took longer than the 30 days to repair his car, because the longer they have the car, the more they can charge. We only cover 30 days for a rental car, so the client ends up paying out of pocket for a rental car too. Also, the client had to pay some out-of-pocket expenses to his doctor. We ended up reimbursing him for the doctor bills, but it was a long, drawn-out process, and very frustrating. We did not refund him for some of the expenses at the body shop, which amount to more than $1,000. In the end, the customer had a ton more out-of-pocket expenses and headaches because of his butthole lawyer. I'd be pressing this issue finding out what happened because you just don't let a lawyer take advantage of you like that. That's messed up, man. He's supposed to be in your corner, not his, trying to make himself look great. And in the end, it backfired on him. Shared fence dispute, posted by Readly Deedle. We recently moved into a newly built home in a development that has been around for quite a few years. Our home was on the edge of the newest phase, so our property is next to a home that was built 2 years ago. For background, my husband has a friend and coworker named Calvin. Calvin actually also lives in our neighborhood, and he carpools to work with my husband nearly every day. They have known each other for years. Calvin's in-laws turned out to be our new next-door neighbors, and they live directly to the right of us. When we first moved in, we initiated a fence being built with our neighbor to the left, and split the cost of the shared fence happily, as it was a joint decision and we decided to have it built at the same time. The in-laws on the right already had a pre-existing fence that was built probably before our home even started to get built. This fence borders our property. The in-laws have had Calvin ask us to pay $2,000 for this shared fence multiple times in the 5 months that we've lived here. They have never actually come to talk to us about it directly. Calvin just told them he would handle it, and he of course sides with the in-laws on the matter. They are very cold to us every time we see them, and they never want to converse. And we have just discovered it's because they think we owe them $2,000. The HOA encourages homeowners to share the cost of the fence. However, it cannot force a neighbor to share the cost if they do not wish to have it built or otherwise. My problem is that this fence has been there for 2 years, well before the house was built or we moved in, and now they're coming after us for this money and not even asking me directly for it. I don't think it's right for them to ask this, but I also want to be neighborly and protect our relationship with Calvin and his wife. I'm finding it very hard to see the fairness here. Would you pay the money and move on, or hold firm that this is an inappropriate request? The commenters got it. They say, why would you pay money for a fence that someone else built 2 years before you moved in? And take the fact that they never want to converse with you as a blessing. Firmly tell Calvin that his in-laws are nuts and that you will never pay them money for a fence that was built years before you even bought the property. I mean, this feels like I go to Walmart and I buy a bag of chips. I eat the chips on my way to your house, and then I make you pay for the chips that you never even ate or had any use of. This is silly. Entitled Karen at a packed restaurant, posted by General Snivy. For a bit of background information, before I share this short story, my mother and I went to Pennsylvania to visit my sister for about a week, as we haven't seen each other in person for over 4 years. During one of the last couple of days of our visit, my mother, my sister, one of her friends who she's living with, and I went to a local restaurant that she looked up via Google Maps, as we were looking to try eating at someplace new. Now, I don't remember the exact name of the restaurant, but I do know that it's on the riverside and it has tequila in its name. Now, onto the story. We arrived at the restaurant and parked in a parking lot across the street from the establishment, and we head inside. As we were heading in, we noticed that the restaurant is packed with lots of customers, and the place looks to be understaffed. There didn't seem to be that many waiters and waitresses on duty, but all 4 of us can tell that they are giving it their all to serve these people, despite the circumstances. One thing I was surprised about was that we were able to be seated so quickly, even if the place looks packed to the brim. So we sat down, ordered an appetizer, and waited patiently for it to arrive. During this time, we chatted about some personal things that aren't worth sharing, and when our appetizer arrived, the waitress forgot to give us the cheese sauce that would normally come with our fries. I politely pointed this out to her after she dropped off our food. She apologized, and she went back to the kitchen to get our cheese sauce. No big deal as far as from what I can tell. Our waitress is serving around 7 tables total, including ours. Eventually, we got our cheese sauce for our appetizer and then ordered our main meals. My mom got a baked potato with pork and barbecue sauce inside the potato that was the size of my head. My sister got a sandwich, I can't remember for sure, and some fries. My sister's friend got something else that I can't recall, and I got myself a pepperoni calzone. Our food arrived and everyone's food was correct, except mine. My calzone had ham or salami in it, which is something I don't like. So I politely informed our waitress that my order was wrong and told her what was wrong with it. She apologized and I told her that it wasn't a big deal. She offered to take the calzone back and have the cooks remake it, which I had her do. All seemed good despite the mistakes that were made so far. Considering everything that was going on, dealing with a restaurant that was packed with hungry people and being short-handed, our waitress was handling things like a champ until my mom and sister overheard an entitled Karen over at a table next to us. I didn't hear the conversation myself as I was staring off into space waiting for my food to be remade, which, by the time it was remade, it was done properly, which was nice. From what I heard my mom and sister mention as they were talking to each other, this Karen was complaining about how the food was terrible, the service was sloppy, and how they were going to complain to our waitress's manager about their slow, crappy, poor service. As mom and my sister were conversing, my sister's friend joined in the conversation as well to offer her own input, and as they were talking and taking all this information in, I agreed with everyone in my party that this Karen is just being entitled, and we were practically singing our waitress's praises as she worked her butt off, serving our table, plus several others at the same time. In the end, when we were ready to receive our check and leave, we told our waitress that she did an excellent job that evening. We thanked her for all of her hard work, and we gave her a very generous tip. I think we ended up tipping her $50 that evening, but I could be wrong about that amount. Regardless, we gave her a really good tip, and I strongly believe that we raised her spirits at least a little bit, which felt really good. My sister also offered to stand up for this waitress if she were to receive a complaint from her manager, shift leader, or whoever her boss is, thanks to this entitled Karen. Overall, the food was delicious and the service was top-notch. If Mom and I were to go back to PA again, we'll definitely revisit this restaurant and hopefully not encounter any more Karens who can't appreciate good customer service, even if it's being served right in front of their face. Sue Karen, she towed my deployed brother's car off our property with an update. Click the video on your screen so you find out what happens to Karen, and I'll see you there.